do we know about cancer as should be the first important thing. So as far as the knowledge goes and the information which is there, it is nothing outside from your body. Okay, it is your own cells which at a particular point become abnormal. So we get scared when we are attacked by an infection like a virus or a bacteria. And then we are like, I'm having this viral infection, I'm having flu and all this. But here the problem exists because this is nothing outside. It's our own body cells, but they start behaving differently. They become abnormal and they keep on growing without any requirement. So you can think about something like if you let your gas be burned for the entire day without its use. So it's what? It's a wastage of energy. It's just creating like polluting the air as well. So the same thing is happening when your body is without any signal, it keeps on dividing. So it's not at all required, but it is happening. And hence, after point, what happens? Like every cell has a tissue formation, and that what leads to organ formation. So it starts going beyond the boundaries, because if you have a small room and you have 100 people in that, after a certain period, if you start putting more and more people, it starts outflowing, right? So they will start crossing the boundaries and they will go and invade other cells, other tissues, other organs. And that's what we call metastasis. That's where it begins to spread to your other parts of your body. And it's difficult also because, if you talk about that, so that board is in one place, so you can target very easily. But when it goes in the malignant state, suppose you keep the dart moving, will the focus be that easy? No. So that's where the failure comes, because if it starts moving, the targeting becomes more and more difficult. If it's in one localized place, it's very easy. We can do a surgery, we can do a localized treatment, and then we can cure it. But if it's keep on moving, the targeting becomes very difficult. And that is one more big challenge which comes with cancer. And to my astonishment, I used to think cancer must be the first leading cause of death. But it is not. It is the second leading cause of death. The first leading cause of death is cardiac arrest. According to the new WHO statistics, first leading cause of death is cardiac arrest, where we don't have a minute also to do anything for the patient. But cancer is a thing which also causes a lot of death. I will not say it does not cause a lot of death. It is the second largest cause of death. But we still have time. We can do something for the patient. We can go for a particular treatment. We can see what are the chances. There is nothing like a no situation or an impossible situation. There is a lot to be done. And we can definitely go ahead with the treatments. Now, why it happens? Like, as I said, some cells starts behaving abnormal and there is an uncontrolled proliferation or growth when it is not required. So there are some agents which are going to make your normal cells behave like this abnormal cells. And these are classified as carcinogens because they have the capacity to form a cancerous cell from a normal cell. So how I say that these are carcinogens? There is an agency called International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC. Okay, it's a globally recognized agency which does a lot of testing on animals and other data surveys they do, and then they come up with some information whether a particular molecule can act as a carcinogen or not. So they have grouped them into several different classes, like we have group 1, group 2A, group 2B, and group 3. Group 1 being the most carcinogenic to humans, like you have UV radiations, processed food, alcoholic beverages, smoking, asbestos, talcum powders. So these all are basically already documented to have a carcinogenic potential in humans. And the second group is group 2A, which is also sufficient to cause cancers, but it is not as potential like a group 1 carcinogen. So these are HPV, you have high temperature frying things, you have NDMA like nitrosodium ethylamine. These are chemicals and steroids. In some form, if you take them beyond a particular quantity, then it can behave a carcinogen. Because quantity also matters. If the quantity is in small doses, it may not act as a carcinogen. But if the dose and quantity increases, then it may act as a carcinogen. The next category is group 2B, which is not classified as carcinogen, but they have limited evidence that they can act as such. So this could be your different leafy products and other things, because in every every biological sample beyond a particular dose can have other harmful effects as well. They are a mixture of components. Some components could be beneficial, some components could be dangerous for the system. So we don't know actually what is the correct dose we should take, or how much is it allowed for a normal individual. And group 3 are still not classified as carcinogens. They are not having that much potentiality to cause or to behave as an agent which can cause cancer. So this is just the classification of what are the different carcinogens we have and how they can cause a normal cell behave as an abnormal cell. Now, there is something very classic that when we talk about cancer, that is hallmarks of cancer. This is like how I say it is not a normal cell, because it has certain properties which gives it a upper hand on the normal cells. Starting first with invasion and metastasis, as I have already talked, that it becomes mobile because it grows so much in number, it cannot be confined to a space. It has to go beyond the boundary. Second is inflammation. We know when we get a hurt or when we are having a wound, there is a redness in that particular region. It causes inflammation. So it's nothing but your immune system cells being accommodated and coming together in that particular region to sort out if there is any infection. But this inflammation can be anti and pro also. Anti means it will inhibit tumor formation. Pro means it can promote. So cancer is very tricky. It may use for its own growth. So that time it becomes promoter. It starts promoting tumor growth. And then these cells, they keep on growing abnormally. So they are uncontrolled growth. When I say they are bigger in number, they go for like too much uncontrolled growth and there is no chance of stopping them. Then there is a provision that some cells are in between, like in the core, and they needs blood supply. Like you see, when there is a fetus development happens in your body, there is a new connection created with the mother that is called placenta. What does the placenta does? It communicates, or it takes all the nutrients to the baby and it takes out the wastage. The same thing this process of angiogenesis does. It is again blood vessel formations to provide the requirement of nutrients and oxygen to the core of the cancer cells, because that cells are devoid of the outer environment, but they need lot and lot of molecules, lot and lot of nutrition. So they need other ways to get the nutrition. So that's the process of angiogenesis, where new bloods will be, cell vessels will be formed and they will supply all these. And they will have uncontrolled signals like growth, keep on growing. So the check and balance goes. Normally, how our body knows that they need to divide, the cells need to divide, there is a growth regulator. So when the regulator is switched on, they starts dividing. When the regulator is switched off, they stop dividing. So at this point, the regulator does not work. It is always in the switched on confirmation. So what will happen? They will keep on growing. There is no stoppage. The next is immune system. If we talk about any infection or anything which is going wrong in our body, we know we have naturally gifted with the immune system in our body, which takes care of anything which is going wrong. But they are so smart that they don't allow them to recognize them. They play hide and seek. So the immune cells cannot recognize them, and now they can evade the immune system response, and they can outgrow in number. Sometimes they even take their health to grow. And since they grow too much, they cannot behave like a normal cell. Their metabolism is too high. So, like we need ATP, their ATP requirement is much, much more higher. I may say 100 or 1000 times. So, there should be a reprogramming in metabolism also. They cannot do with the normal metabolism what a normal person is doing with. Another one is, if something is going wrong in your body, the body has a mechanism of death. If anything, like if there is a damage, if suppose a car makes an accident, what happens? We go for repair. We go to the mechanic person and they will repair it. But if the damage is 80%, do you think that will be taken care by the repair? No. Then you have to discard the car. So the same thing happens in your body. If this repair cannot be achieved, then they should go for death, which is body's internal mechanism. So if this is not working, they should go for that. If repair is not taken care, they should go for that. And in that case, here they does not allow death to also take place, because these are abnormal. They need repairing. They cannot be repaired, but they are also not undergoing death. So they keep on accumulating. It's like kind of something garbage which is getting accumulated in your body, which is of no use, but it will harm your normal function, normal cellular function in the body. It will start damaging that. Next is, if there is something wrong, we have growth promoters, but we also have growth suppressors. So they should be down regulated. But in this case, they are also not working properly. They are not acting on it. And hence, there is a chance of accumulating more and more mutation. People say, na, ki cancer is luck. It's a fortune disease. I don't say it's a fortune disease, because sometimes we have a familial history where we don't know as from the top that what is wrong in our genes, but there are some marks. If we do study them, we get to know what are our chances to get a cancer. And that is very important. Nowadays, that is the way you can take care of what type of problems can happen if there is a particular mutation in a particular gene. And beforehand only, we can take care of all those things, and like a prevention kind of a thing, we can do it before going to the stages. So I'll just give some statistics of how it is happening and what cancers we see on a wide scale. So talking about the statistical thing worldwide, we see in males there is a high chance of prostate cancers. There is like 29% of the males are known to be reported with prostate cancers. And breast cancers being the highest in the females, where 31% of the women are known to have breast cancers worldwide. So are the deaths similar to the prevalence? No. Death is higher. This is actually interesting. Though the highest case of prevalence is highest in prostate in males, and in females it's breast. But when it comes to death, it is lung. So you may understand a very significant thing, that prostate and breast, we can surgically remove. We cannot remove lungs. Okay. And there is something called slow growing cancer and fast growing cancer. So when we see prostate and breast cancers, they are most of the times they are slow. And after a point only, they start becoming aggressive. But lung cancer is something which starts damaging your breathing. It can also cause choking in your cardiac arrest and strokes. So that is very important. We ignore always. We say, okay, always males prostate is there, females breast cancer is there. But they don't die. The highest death is because of lung cancer. So again, we need to make sure that what we are looking at, death prevalence is where, because we are able to cure prostate and breast much more better than lung. I hope this makes sense, because it's a very interesting fact which I came across. And now I'll talk about the treatment options, what we have, like normal days treatment. If we see, it was a traditional treatment method where we used to have radiation like radiotherapy, chemotherapy, or surgical removal. So if you see, these are having lots of benefits but lots of disadvantages, because when you say radiotherapy and surgery, it's localized. It is not a widespread treatment what you give. Yes, chemotherapy is a widespread treatment which the entire body goes through, because there is intake of chemicals in your body and they start targeting different. But what happens again here is off targeting, and many a times we don't know what is wrong in the patient. It could be 10 patients with breast cancer, but they may have 10 different reasons for the breast cancer. So if the reason is different, I cannot give the same treatment for all. That is a very important thing. We should know it, what treatment we should give to them. Because other than that, what happens? They have to face hundreds of drugs, which could be having lots and lots of harmful effects. If I do a specific treatment for them, then this 100 drugs could be reduced to 20 drugs. And now the harmful effects will also be reduced. What the patient undergoes when they take those 100 drugs, we cannot imagine. And that will, out of that, hardly 10% will be of use, because what I want to be targeted, I actually don't know. The people don't know. They just randomly put all the drugs. Okay, you have cancer. For this cancer, these drugs you should take. But why that cancer has come, what was the molecular biology behind it, is also very important, to make sure that you give the minimum drugs required. Because already the patient is very weak, mentally, physically, and all. So we need to minimize the number of treatments we do. So there comes the new era of treatment for cancer, which we say precision medicine or personalized medicine. We say we all are not same. We all are different in our genetic makeup, and hence our treatments cannot be same. We all don't wear the same size of t-shirt. We all don't have the same amount of food, right? We all have different requirements. And accordingly, the treatment may have. The second could be immunotherapy, which is, as I have already mentioned, our immune system, nature has gifted us so that anything goes wrong in our body, the immune system will take over and they will try to target it. But it does not allow it. So what we can do, we can overpower our immune system so that now they can easily target those cancerous cells, and hence they can help us in combating cancer. Or very specific targeted therapies are also there in market. So if someone is having a problem in the hormone, we will target the hormone, not the general targeting will happen. If someone is having a problem in the receptor, we will target the receptor, not anything general. So it will be very specific targeting on the basis of what the genetics information we get from that particular tumor. So this is just a picturization of what I am trying to say. If you look into the patients, there are two patients given here. They both have the tumor in the same region. But if you look into the DNA sequence, the mutations are in different localizations. So normally what should have happened, drug A could be given to patient B as well. if they are having the same cancer. But here, since the mutation is in different location, the same drug will not be effective. We need a different drug to treat it, to make it much more beneficial, to make it much more efficient. That is the idea of personalized medicine, as we know. And the next one is immunotherapy. So when I say immunotherapy, I want to say I'm boosting up my own immune system. I'm trying the nature itself. Nature is the what we can say. If nature has done something wrong in our body, like the mutations and all, which turn it to be an abnormal cell, we can use the nature itself and try to combat it. So that's what where immunotherapy comes. So we have different varieties in the basket. We have cancer vaccines, we have cytokine therapies, we have T cell therapies where we take the T cell from the patient, we again overpower them with the cancer antigen and then put it back. So now the recognition is much better and they can recognize the cancer cells and kill them efficiently. We have viruses also in place which will act as an oncolytic virus, because we say oncology is cancer, right? Cancer study. So oncolytic means it will lyse the onco, like the cancerous cells. So that's why the term bioimmunotherapy comes. And other molecules which were blocking the immune to work ahead, we can also target them by acting as an inhibitor for them. So we'll go one by one, like adoptive T cell therapy or CAR T cell therapy. What does this mean? Basically, it is nothing but you collect the blood samples from the patient. In that blood samples, you need the T cells, because T cells is a part of your immune system. It's a T lymphocyte, what we say. And then you start programming them. How you program them? Normally, you see, they don't have this red color receptors on their surface, right? In the previous one. But now, with programming, you put some genes and now this red color receptor starts coming on the surface. They are located on the surface. You grow them, multiply them, and you back into the patient. Now, the cell is the tumor cells, and hence they can act more efficiently to target your cancerous cells. So the benefits will be higher and the harmful effects of the drug will go down, because I'm not giving any drugs. So drugs, how much our system absorbs, and hardly, I think 50% of it is absorbed in most of the cases, and 50% starts accumulating. Better. The next one is viral-based cancer vaccines, which are nothing but engineered viruses. They are used as vectors to deliver tumor antigens inside your immune system. So, like you did COVID vaccines, that was, you are beforehand only giving the information to your system that what is the enemy looking like. If you know that information beforehand, you can make yourself ready much better, and the targeting will again be a very efficient targeting. Another two are peptide based cancer vaccine and nucleic acid based cancer vaccines. Again, they are using some of the individual marks of the cancers to targeting become more efficient. That is either short or long peptides to induce immune response, or the DNA or RNA, which is the genetic material, can be used for tumor and as in tumor antigen, and hence immune system can target it. So these are the different varieties of cancer vaccines which are in expressions on their surface, that is TAA and PDL1. What they do, they start blocking the immune response which was supposed to be there. But if I incorporate some molecules like anti-PDL1 and anti-CTLA4, they will not be able to bind to the cancer cells, and hence targeting can be done. So it's a double way check molecule which is going to inhibit the proliferation of cancer cells and hence start its destruction, that is apoptosis, which was not happening previously. The next one is cytokine therapies, where we see that in an untreated cancer, you have angiogenesis, as already mentioned, is one of the major hallmarks, and the tumor cells cannot come and recognize them. But if you give a cytokine like interferon alpha, what it does, it enhances the anti-cancer immune functions. And if you see the size of these blood vessels, they start decreasing. The supply becomes restricted to the regions, and hence you will also have increased number of immune cells. These blue color cells are nothing but your immune cells getting repopulated in the tumor environment. So what it does, it is overpowering again your immune system with the help of cytokine here, so that they can target this tumor cells and reduce the blood supply. So if I cut, if you don't want anyone to survive, you cut their blood supply, you cut their nutrients, don't give them any support, don't give them food. So they will anyways die. So that's the mechanism how it is targeting the growth of tumors. The next one is viroimmunotherapy. It is again very, very interesting. So here you have viruses, you start taking those viruses and infect the tumor cells. These are very specific viruses to be there, because they will only infect your tumor cells. They will not infect your normal cells. So what they will do when they infect your tumor cells, they will start producing inflammation and they will start causing other molecules to be released, and that will again be recollected by your immune system. Now when it gets the information, it starts becoming more and more active, and hence it starts targeting them back. And this is the way you can distantly kill the tumor cells. Even if it is far away, if it goes to the lymphatic vessel, it can reach the farthest points. And if there is any metastatic tumors, they can be killed by this. The next part is targeted therapy. So when I say targeted therapy, there could be multiple things going wrong in a cancer cell. As I mentioned, in some places, there could be a growth receptor which is not working. In some places, the signaling molecule which is inside the cell may not be working. I cannot use the same treatment for both of them. I need specific treatment, so that if it's a growth factor problem, it will only act on the growth factor. It will not act on something else. Because when we start giving in general treatment, the problem happens is the side effects are more. It starts standing up too many damages in your system, and it is unwanted. You don't require it. Now the thing is, people think that if they do a gene sequencing, it will cost them more. But think about how long the treatment of cancer goes. It's like 2 years, 3 years in many cases beyond that. In that case, if you are taking even 15 medicines or 10 medicines, think about the cost. It is too much. But if you do one gene sequencing at the beginning, it will solve 90% of the problem. You don't have to take that much 15 drugs or chemotherapy sessions. You can reduce it, and the adverse effects will also be reduced. So it's like knowing the thing in much beforehand will help you out, solve your journey much more easier and much more better. I have just taken one short example because of the time constraint. I cannot take all the examples, but yes, I wanted to show that how it is going to work. So here you can see that there is a graph given and there is two lines. One is in blue color, one is in red color. The blue color is basically for the patients who are undergoing chemotherapy. So here, if you see, the survival rate is very low compared to a EGF inhibitor, that is geftinimab. So this is a very specific molecule. It is for one particular receptor. And if I use only this drug, I'm increasing the survival, the the life of the patient. Too many lives can be saved, and it will be for a longer time period. Whereas chemotherapy, we give a lot of medicines, and hence they may not die because of cancer. They may not die because of other adverse effects. That is the concern which is there right now. So we should keep on minimizing the number and usage of drugs so that the adverse effects are low and we can increase the span of the patient. There are, other than immunotherapy and precision medicine, recently the upcoming trends in the field of cancer research include exosome. What is it? When I say a cell is giving information to other cell, there is some mechanism, right? So these are like, you want to text someone, you use WhatsApp or you use SMS and all those things. That way you can deliver the message from one person to another. Now these exosomes are very small molecules. They can take the information from one cell and can convey the information to another cell. So that is how the cell at that level is talking to each other. And they play very important role. So they are couriers. They are carrying the information. If you know about them, you can do a lot of study and research and try to come up with a more better solutions for cancer treatment, because we can restrict the talking. If we don't allow them to talk, they cannot take each other's help and they cannot outgrow in number. They cannot metastasize. So we should definitely think of these areas. The next is microbiome. When a cell grows in number, so that time other cells which are around it, be it microbiome means your bacteria and viruses, they are also present in your body. There are thousands of bacteria and viruses, but in very small numbers. They are good bacteria, is what we call. Like you have gut microbiome, they help in digestion. The same way, everywhere we have little bit population of microflora. They help in doing certain activities. So when these cells keep on growing, it's a restriction on them. Even they take their own food. So, that's a survival of fittest. It's a race going on. And they start scavenging their food. So now they start destroying them. And that's again give them an upper hand, because this microflora is supposed to help us in our proper organ function. But because of the destruction of the normal, background and the normal microenvironment, the entire thing goes unrestricted. So now if you try to restore the microflora, it can again give you a lot of development in cancer treatment. And the last one being organoids. They are basically from a cellular level, how can you come and see the 3D structure of an organ? Because when we talk about a cell level, I don't know how it works. When I talk about a communication at an organ level, it is different. It will not be the same as a cell. It is going to be different. And there is something called stem cells. Cancer stem cells are there, which is a very high chance of relapse. We all know, we all have heard about cancer relapse situation, but we have never thought why it happens. It is this small population of cancer stem cells which stays back, which is not treated. Whatever treatment you do, they have a superpower. They will remain untouched. And when I say a stem cell, we all know a stem cell has a power that it can grow into any type of cell. So here, if you see the person was having previously, take the example of breast cancer. and they went under treatment, everything got sorted. But after again 2 years, there is again relapse. And that time they don't have breast cancer, they have leukemia. Why? Because they had their stem cell left. And that stem cell differentiated into a blood cell lineage, but it was having the mutations and everything. And now it turned out to be a leukemia-like situation. So we also need to look into the stem cell population, which is very much important for the relapse and recurrence of cancer. Because we don't want treatment just for that time. We want a treatment for a lifetime, so that the chances of relapse is zero. And if we can only do when we target those cancer stem cells, because this relapse situation is very much there when this cancer stem cell starts being there. And that's why people, when they have a cancer, they are always asked, please go for regular checkups, because they want to see whether anything like that is coming up or not. We know it from the top. We don't know why the doctor is saying to come for regular checkups. That does not happen when we have a viral infection. Your doctor says that you come for after 6 months, we will have a checkup? No, because there is nothing called relapse in that situation. Here, there is a chance, because there is a small population which is having the power to come back in a very different form, which can be more aggressive. And at that time, the treatment will be much more difficult. So what is the take home? Knowing your cancer biology is important. So you should know the cancer from the molecular biology perspective. What is wrong? Where is it wrong? I cannot just generalize and give one medicine for all. You can see this DNA sequence which is running throughout the person, and there are multiple places they can have mutations. And for each mutation, I cannot give one drug. There is some specificities. I cannot put anything anywhere. It needs to be a highly specific thing. So knowing the cancer at the biological level is very important. If you don't know it, the treatment and the adverse situations will be much more higher. So since we know, when anyone hears cancer, they become scared. It's a scary term for them. But it's not. I'll say it's not, because we don't have anything. It's not in our hands, to be very frank. We don't know if I'm standing in sun, which part of my gene is going to get mutated. That is not in our hands. And if it is getting mutated, whether it will be a very important molecule or not is also not known to us. For some of us, it may be an important molecule where the mutation happens. For some of us, it may not. And some of us may be carriers of it. Like we can get it from the family generations. So we should know the things, and we should never be disheartened if anything like this comes in our life anytime, in any of our family or friends, because it is a word, not a life sentence. You should remember that simple lifestyle habits can help you reverse the cancer from the root cause. Choose to be a survivor, not to be a victim. That's my only ending sentence, because it is very important that don't feel pity on yourself. It's not your fault, not at all. It's no one's fault. And with this, I'd like to conclude my session. And I would like to answer if there is any questions from the audience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shweta. I really enjoyed your presentation. And, I think this is some very, some facts which we have heard about, but we don't really understand them the way you have explained them today. And for instance, even the way you explained about what did you call it? Hallmarks of cancer, the
Yes.
12 in a wheel. Yes. The various points that you explained, they were so many of them I had no idea about. So I'm really impressed by that. And yes, like Dr. Shweta said, we invite the audience to come up with questions. Please unmute yourself and you can say what your question is.
Hi. Uh, hello.
Dr. Shweta, I have seen most of the
I have a
time the
question,
personalized
Shweta.
treatment.
I think Kamal, somebody is speaking.
Okay.
Somebody called A.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll take it next. Yeah.
Sure, ma'am. Thanks a lot, doctor. This was very helpful.
Yeah,
Hi.
please go ahead. Who was asking a question?
It was me. So I'm just curious about how does cancer really occur in the body physically and biologically? And so now people say it's through the genes also. And I'm just curious, how does it trigger when and when does it trigger?
Okay, ma'am, it's really a nice thing because we know people don't realize the importance of many things when they come across the word. Stem cell is something which is always there in us, but yes, as we grow up, they start decreasing in number. That's why whenever we talk about any plant transplantation and all, we try to go for the young kids because they have high in number. Or recently, the cord blood preservation thing is happening because they are very rich in stem cells. So stem
I'm
cell,
sorry to interrupt you. Kids also have cancer of it. It's like 20-year-old kids or
yeah, I know
50-year-old kids.
they are having
They
cancer,
are
but that
people
is
about
again a problem when most of the cell, like if a differentiated cell, like stem cell is something. It's I will say in a very layman's language, which I make by a student understand sometime when they don't, and yeah, like if you talk about a class 10 pass student, they don't have any specialized knowledge. No, they know little bit physics, they know little bit science, they know little bit maths, they know little bit computers. But as they move ahead in one particular, suppose someone is wants to study um, psychology, so they will go in BA. Okay, so that's a more specialized field. So normally when the cells are there, they are like that class 10 standards. When body requires blood cells more, so they will differentiate to give blood cells more. When body requires immune cells more, so they will differentiate to give immune cells more. So they have a power, special power, that they can form any type of cell in your body. And that's where what happens when I talk about cancer, there is a, since cancer also starts accumulating mutation, so they go back to the stem cell kind of thing. So there they change from a differentiated cell, they went back to a class 10 student where they are not differentiated, and now they can become something else. So first, if you want to come to that particular thing, you should rub other things off. So that's what happens. There is a different level of molecular you say genes and factors which are going down, which is only expressed in stem cells. So all those mutations will start decreasing those factors down, which will be only for the stem cells. And now these cells only, they will go backtrack, and then they will turn out to be something else. I hope I was able to answer.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, Kamal ma'am, you were saying something.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I've heard in most cases, like one of my, some of my friends who got a relapse, they said we are going through targeted therapy and immunotherapy. Then I wonder, when you are diagnosed the first time, why don't we use targeted and immunotherapy? First, we'll do conventional method of chemo, surgery, radiation. Is it because it's very expensive, or because that didn't work, we are using this now?
No, ma'am. Mostly it's like people have a fear that if they go for this convention, it's like, ma'am, when vaccines come, even your COVID-19 vaccines. So when people don't know about it, initially no one was going to take the vaccine. But when they say their neighbors, they have taken the vaccine and they are fine. Okay, I will also go and take the vaccine. So conventional therapy is like that now. And since this targeted therapy is very new, even many places doctors are like scared to use it for the treatment. But if you go through the research, I have seen WHO statistics right now shows that with conventional therapy, I guess 50% around cancers were able to be treated. But with precision and personalized medicine, it has raised to 75%. So that gives us ray of hope. And as I say, it reduces a lot of risk factors. Like the person will not be predisposed to something unnatural, unwanted, because it is not required. If you do a if you do a background check and a study of the genes, you will get all the things where the things are going wrong. That is very important. If I have a machine fault from top, I can just not see like okay, this has to be done like this. I should open my machine and check where the fault is, whether the fault is in the fan, is it in the light, is it in the screen, that it is not working. So without knowing that from the top, people whatever want, they start doing it because they are used to it, habituated. But this is the change.
So that means when we go to a hospital, we can ask, please give me targeted therapy. Don't give me your the conventional method.
Yes, now we can definitely ask. We as an educated citizen, we can say that I want to know the biology of my tumor. If they will give me the biology of the tumor, I will also be there sitting with the doctor next to it. Ki, okay, this is not the proper way. Like I will go for targeted therapy. I will not go for radiotherapy because that is more painful. Why should I choose something which is more painful and more adverse effect?
So this targeted therapy works in all kinds of cancer, all organ cancer, or some it's good, better results in something.
Ma'am, again, it depends what type of cancer you are talking about. Like if I remember your session only, you already said in the session that some people it is 2 chemotherapies. For some people it can be 10 chemotherapies. So it even depends ki what type of cancer it is. Some are cold cancers, some are hot cancers, some are aggressive forms, some are very, slow growing forms. So depending on that, the doses will change. Now, what was the fun? Be it a slow cancer, be it an aggressive cancer, the approach is same if you look into the conventional therapy. But this needs to be changed because the person who is undergoing is may not require that much if I know the cancer much better.
Yeah, like you said, the person may not die of cancer, but may die of
Yes.
the treatment.
Yes,
Okay.
very sure, very sure. Even I was astonished to see that many cancer patients didn't die because of cancer, they died because of cardiac arrest.
Yeah,
There is a
I have.
report on it.
Yeah.
So how does cardiac arrest happen? Because of all these issues. So we should minimize because those patients mentally they are very weak because as I say, it's a very scary thing in people's life. If even in हम लोग ऐसे मनाते हैं कि भगवान मतलब किसी को ना दे ऐसे करके. But no one is going to have it on their own. It is not a choice.
Is it very
But
expensive? Because I know what a conventional treatment costs. What will be a targeted treatment costing?
targeted treatment costing will be a bit higher when I say about sequencing because you need to know where the thing is going wrong. But yes, it will cut your cost for all those 100 medicines. So if you weigh it now and the adverse effects which your body is going through, I think this is much better compared to that. But people is like this is regular, everyone is doing it, so we should also do it. It's like that. हमारे in India there is a concept कि सब जहाँ चल रहे हैं पीछे पीछे चलो without knowing कि what the people are following. So it is like we should make this more and more so that people are aware that these things are there and how to talk, how to go ahead with the approach when they are going with their doctor visits and all. This will only happen when we start enriching the minds of the people with all this information. I hope Kamal ma'am I was able to answer your
Yeah,
question.
thanks. Yes, because I hear of this so much, but only in relapse cases they'll speak of targeted therapy. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
good
ma'am.
evening, ma'am.
Actually,
Good evening, ma'am.
yes. Yeah,
Good
one
evening.
question is
Uh,
coming. Yeah.
a wonderful, wonderful session, for this course. In a short time, you have explained us a lot, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to understand, like mostly the precautionary measures will help us. Are we not following those regular checkups so that at the preliminary stage we can target the cancer and start treatment? Only we are most of them, they're going to second stage, third stage, or fourth stage. They are able to come to know that they have been cancer diagnosed with cancer. So can you highlight on the issues, whether the precautionary or preliminary stages where we can detect, and so that all this cumbersome method can be avoided, ma'am? Thank you.
The precautionary or preliminary stages, the problem is that, people, if they have a chest pain or vomiting issue, they will think, oh, it's irregular, it's a normal thing. Maybe I had a bad food yesterday, that's why I'm having this issue. So nature gives us lots of signs. We as human beings, we start ignoring them. We are like, okay, it's a normal day-to-day thing, it will happen and will go off. But we should definitely go for regular checkups. I'm not a MBBS wala person to say much more on this, but yes, what I understand is that if you do, if even you should be not scared to talk about anything which is there in your family as well, because many a times that also gives hint ki whether you are prone to something or not. In many cancer, I have not talked many things, because there is something for every gene. We have two copies, and many a times both the copies should be mutated, like they should be going wrong, then only it will happen. But if you are inheriting one wrong from your family, you are more prone to it. So if your family history and all you know well, and if you're ready to talk it out with your doctors, I think it will sort out a lot of problems. But most of the time, we don't feel like talking of this. We feel that it's wrong. It's something we should not talk about. Why? If there is an issue, we should talk about it. Then only we will be able to know the things much more better. And genetic information, anytime, anywhere, if you are a kid, like a 10-year-old kid and a 30-year-old person, if they do genetic testing, even they will have variation, because as you grow up, you are more and more exposed to environment, you are more and more exposed to mutations, so the thing will not be same. But that predisposition will give you a lot of information that whether these mutations are going to be more towards cancer or less towards cancer. So that will be helping you out in knowing it, and whether that will be there in future or not.
So, ma'am, such tests are not done at the time of birth or at prenatal tests.
Ma'am, that's what I said. When a kid
different.
is 10 years old, the gene will be different. It may not have that many mutations. And when they reach the age of 30 or 40, they may have many mutations acquired because of this chemicals, because of those viral infections or anything.
Okay.
Because as you grow up, you are exposed more and more to different types of and varieties of environment. So that's accumulating. So even if you do a genetic testing when your kid is born, you will not be assured whether the kid will have something like this in future or not. I cannot give the assurity for it, because that again talks what environment the kid is going to be grown up.
Okay.
Ma'am, since I'm traveling, my audio might not be proper. I have put my question in the chat box. Can you please check, ma'am?
Sure. Okay. In India, cancer vaccine is introduced called HPV vaccine, human papilloma. Is it really safe to get vaccinated now? What kind of vaccine it is? Is there any eligibility to take it? I think yes, all adults can take it. Isn't it, Amrinder ma'am? It's fine and safe to take HPV vaccine.
Yeah, both boys
And
and
it's,
girls can take. But there's an age, no, Amrinda, for it.
I think adults will be able to take.
Better for girls before sexual activity begins. It's more effective. Otherwise, after 21, then I think they can take it. Amrinder, you add.
Yeah,
This is what I
that's what
heard
Dr.
from
Matangi was sharing that day, that the effectiveness of the vaccine reduces as the age grows. So, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it doesn't give any protection. It does. So it's always better to take it even after you have crossed the suggested age. Of course, the younger the child, the better it is. I
Better is
think,
the
yes, it
and
starts at the age of 11 or 12.
because what happens now when you take a vaccine, it is not going to stop the infection. You should be very clear with the information about vaccine and infection. People get confused. Like in COVID also, I was hearing people said, if I'm getting vaccine, I'll not get the infection. No, that's a very new information. Like you don't know it. Vaccine is a mean that you are giving prior information to your body to be alert from the enemy. That is what the vaccine does. So your immune system is having some memory. They will store the information. If that infection comes, they will be ready to attack it. They will not take time and they will not allow the infection to damage your system. I hope that suffices your question, Shrivartini.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And I remember doctor telling us, even if you're vaccinated, it's no substitute for pap smear test.
Yes.
A woman should go regularly, I think once in 3 years at least, for a pap smear test. Yeah.
And
Because
Yes, and yeah. Also, that HPV vaccine can be given to boys and men
Boys.
also. Please go ahead, Dr. Shweta.
okay, so I was just concluding with the thing that since I know immunology also a lot from my end, I'll just say that if you are taking a vaccine, there is no surety that you are immunized from the infection, because each of our body system is different. Don't think what I am having, other 10 will also have the same type of immune system. Very big no. My genetic makeup is different, others' genetic makeup is different. I may catch flu easily. Some people may not catch flu easily. It depends on person to person. So even if I'm taking a vaccine, whether my body is able to generate the antibody for that antigen or the infection, that is the important thing. So that is called immunization. Vaccination always